the February 11th and 12th, 2022 meeting of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Will the recording secretary please call roll?
Catherine Williams Brown,
Present.
Jose Cardenas,
Here.
Michael De La Torre,
Present.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Here.
Anna Marie Francois,
Present.
Makita Gwino Shire,
Present.
Megan Gross,
Present.
Johanna Harwick,
Present.
Susan Aradia,
Present.
Terry Jackson,
Here.
Bonnie Clark,
Present.
Monica Martinez,
Here.
David Simmons,
Here.
Tina Sloan,
Here.
Kimberly White Smith. We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, Mary, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, please stand and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to announce the appointments for the 2022 Executive Committee. The committee includes Monica Martinez, who will chair the Educator Preparation Committee, Johanna Hartwig, the Professional Practices Committee, Bonnie Klatt, the Fiscal Policy and Planning Committee, Marisol De La Torre Escobedo, the Legislative Committee, David Simmons, the Certification Committee, and Terry Jackson, the Appeals and Waivers Committee. Thank you all for your service again in 2022. Much appreciated. All right, I'd like to remind everyone about the meeting procedures before we get to today's agenda. This meeting is being conducted via Zoom. This may be our last one. We'll see. Staff is maintaining a minimal presence in the commission building, but everyone else is participating from their own locale. With respect to your microphones, we'd like you to know that your microphone is muted to eliminate any background noise that may hinder others from hearing what's being said. Commissioners and presenters can unmute yourself, but please mute your microphone after you're done speaking. When commenting or asking questions, commissioners, some of you may be using the video audio functions and some of you will be using audio only. Commissioners that would like to speak, use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Because this is a teleconference meeting, we need to conduct each vote by roll call. Just before you vote, we will remind everyone to make sure you are unmuted so that we don't miss anyone's vote. We would also like to ask the members of the public who want to make public comment to check their Zoom identification now. Your Zoom identification is the name used when logging into the meeting. It's important that the Zoom identification is accurate so we can call on you appropriately during public comment. Next, we will cover the public comment procedures. All right, the committee chair will announce when the public comment period is open during the presentation of the agenda item and ask for anyone who wishes to comment to notify the meeting moderator. Individuals who join the meeting via the Zoom webcast will need to click on the raised hand icon to inform the meeting moderator that you would like to speak on that item. The moderator, will notify you when it's your turn to speak by calling your Zoom ID at that time. You'll be prompted to unmute your microphone and you'll be able to share your comment. The Zoom ID name used by you, the member of the public, to join the Zoom meeting will be displayed to the public when you provide your public comment. It's a lot of public words in there. Individuals who join the meeting through the US toll-free number will need to press *9 on their phone to inform the meeting moderator that they'd like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify you that it's your turn to speak by calling the last 4 digits of your phone number and will allow you to unmute your phone. At that time, you'll be prompted to press *6 and we'll be able to share your comment. Please note that only the last 4 digits of your phone number will be displayed to the public when you provide your comment. Each of our committee chairs will have discretion to set a time limit on comments depending on the volume of speakers seeking to speak on a particular item. We ask that you keep your remarks brief and focused on the particular item you're speaking to. You will get a 1-minute warning and will be asked to finish your sentence before being muted by the meeting host. Just one last thing. We are recording this meeting just as an in-person meeting. After the meeting, the archived audio and video will be available via the Commission's website. Okay, item 1A is the approval of the December 2021 and January 2022 meeting minutes. We'll need to make 3 separate motions to approve the December 2021 ad hoc committee minutes, the December 2021 commission meeting minutes, and the January 2022 closed session meeting minutes. All right, so first, do I have a motion from a member of the ad hoc committee to approve the December 2021 ad hoc committee minutes? I would like to remind everyone that only those who served on the committee can make and second the motion to approve the committee minutes. Anyone from the ad hoc committee? That would be Jose Cardenas, David Simmons, or Michael Cooney, who is not here. David, are you moving?
I so move. I was trying to find the hand. I couldn't.
That's all right. I saw you on mute. All right. Moved by Commissioner Simmons. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardenas. All right. Any discussion? Will the recording secretary call for the vote, please?
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Fantastic. Thank you both for serving on the ad hoc committee. Well, motion carries. Next, do I have a motion to approve the December 2021 regular session minutes? Anyone can do this. So moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Martinez. Discussion? All right. Will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Harwick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia,
Aye.
Terry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Finally, do I have a motion to approve the January 2022 closed session meeting minutes? Moved by Commissioner Klatt, seconded by Commissioner Hartwig. Discussion? All right. Will the recording secretary call for the vote?
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna
Aye.
Harwick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia,
Aye.
Terry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan.
Abstain?
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is 1B, approval of the February 2022 agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the February 2022 agenda? So moved by Commissioner Martinez. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Heredia. Discussion? All right. Will the recording secretary call for the vote, please?
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Howick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia,
Aye.
Harry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez.
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. Agenda item 1C is approval of the February 2022 consent calendar. Do commissioners have any items that they'd like to consider in closed session? Commissioner Gross?
I'd like to pull Baker, Harkey, and Mora.
All right, thank you.
Do you have the number of that item?
I don't have their numbers. I just have their names.
Can you repeat it just one more time for us?
Yeah, Baker, Harkey, and Mora.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do other commissioners have any consent items to pull? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve all remaining items on the consent calendar? So moved by Commissioner Hartwig. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner De La Torre Escobedo. Discussion? Will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Howick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia,
Aye.
Harry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. All right, agenda item 1D are a few comments by me. You'll notice I am currently in the spotlight. This time of year, the sun comes in. It's lovely. It's a lovely sunny day here. It's a little blinding, but it'll shift. But one thing I did want to just say this morning is that the teacher shortage is one of the most critical issues that we as a commission face at this moment in time. We are hearing all of the ways in which our students are suffering, our educators are suffering, but there is hope. But let me just talk about this for just a second. We saw that in January, we had nearly 24 districts that had to close during the Omicron crisis. We don't have enough teachers to even keep schools open, is what this is saying. And we are also seeing that teachers of color are leaving the profession at a higher rate than other teachers are. We are also seeing that underprepared teachers leave the profession 2 to 3 times more quickly than fully prepared and fully certified teachers do. So what is happening and what can we do? We know that we have had a long-standing decline in new candidates coming into the teacher profession. We did see an uptick in applications last year in 2020, interestingly enough. I'm not sure, numbers are coming in from our educated preparation providers, but I don't believe that we're going to see such high upticks this year in 2021, 2022 for the 2022, 2023 year. But what we've typically done in responding to this is we've tried to get educators into the classroom faster. Unfortunately, we've nearly tripled the number of intern and temporary permits that we've issued at the commission since 2012, 2013. And that has resulted in too many underprepared teachers for our students, and it has resulted in too many new teachers leaving the profession because, as I already mentioned, they leave faster than fully certified teachers. So we need different solutions for both recruiting teachers and preparing them so that they're fully prepared when they start. And as I said at the very beginning, there is good news. One of our first items that we're going to talk about is the governor's proposed budget. It offers tremendous opportunities for us as a commission to support new teachers who are thinking about coming into the profession, to support programs to develop new opportunities and pathways to fully prepare them before they go into teaching, to offer financial supports to new teachers coming into the profession. There are a lot of exciting things. And one of the most interesting opportunities, I think, for us sort of took root back when we were first doing our strategic planning, and we surveyed our education partners in the field, and we asked them, what is the mission of the commission and what is it that you want the commission to do? And we had a lot of very interesting and overwhelming sort of responses to, we want the commission to take a lead. We want them to be a leader in setting sort of the, I don't know what you would call it, the ethos, around teaching, the helping to recruit, the helping to support people coming into the profession. The commission has always taken a role in supporting programs and candidates in many different ways through their certification process, but we haven't taken a really strong role in recruitment, and there are some opportunities for us moving forward on that. So that's one of the big reasons that we're seeing an educator shortage. Candidates are not coming into the profession as quickly as we need them to, and they're not coming in as fully prepared as we need them to. But the other thing that is contributing, as all of you well know, is teachers leaving the profession, longtime teachers leaving the profession, teachers of color leaving the profession at higher rates than any other teachers. Much of that has to do with how unbelievably, if not nearly impossible, this job has become for educators over the last 2 years. At the same time, there have been a lot of endemic reasons why teachers have left the profession at such a high rate. The commission doesn't have jurisdiction over what happens every day in the classroom or in a school, but we do have jurisdiction over how we prepare all teachers to go into the profession. We can consider, are we preparing new teachers of color for entering those classrooms? Are we preparing their colleagues for working in classrooms with multiple teachers from diverse backgrounds and multiple students from diverse backgrounds? Are we paying attention to the preparation programs themselves and racial climate and all of the things that we need to do to ensure that the new teachers coming out of our programs have a chance? They have opportunities to change what is happening that is not working for teachers and counselors and school nurses and all of the educators and staff who work in the environments of school. But mostly, we want to be sure that all of our educators are empowered to do what they know they need to do for our students. Our educators know what's best for our students, and we need to also consider that. So I want to end my remarks with saying that while it has been one of the most difficult times, difficult doesn't even begin, one of the most probably sad and scary times for teachers and students. My hope is that we're coming out of this now, and that the work we are going to do today and all year is going to make this better. for teachers, for students. So I do believe that. So thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Executive Director Mary Sandy.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for those inspiring words. It has indeed been a challenging time for all of us, and we're hopeful that this year will begin to move us into whatever's next. So for my report this morning, Commissioners, first of all, good morning and Happy New Year. It's great to see all of you, members of our communities of interest. We're grateful that you're with us today. We have a very meaty agenda to go through, and it's a good way to start the year. Let's just look at everything. And I think that's what we've scheduled for the next 2 days. I'd like to begin by introducing a new member of the professional services staff, a new consultant who joined us last fall, Dr. Timothy Weeks. He holds a baccalaureate degree in computer science, an MBA in marketing and finance, and an MA in secondary education, as well as an EDD in education, equity, and leadership. Dr. Weeks began his career in education working as a middle school and high school mathematics teacher in San Francisco, Oakland, and Richmond, California. Since receiving his doctorate, he has taught courses in mathematics curriculum and instruction and educational psychology in a university teacher preparation program. He has also worked as a program assessment coordinator, where he was responsible for collecting and analyzing teacher candidate survey, observation, and performance data. His education research interests have focused on culturally responsive charter schools and equitable mathematics education. He is a member of the American Educational Researchers Association, AERA, and has served as president of the AC3ME, Alameda Contra Costa Council of Mathematics Educators. We are very pleased to welcome Dr. Weeks to our staff. He will be working with our accreditation team and is also taking the lead on writing the RFP for our computer science grant program, and that RFP will be coming out in the coming weeks. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Weeks to just say good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Commission, and thanks for having me today. It's been an incredible experience so far working with the Commission. Very steep learning curve after about 2 weeks to get my feet on the ground. We hit it running. And I appreciate Commissioner Sloan's comments. It is a very daunting task, which is why we got thrown into the mix very quickly. So I'm really looking forward to some of the work I can do with the Commission, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Secondly, I would just like to take a moment to reflect upon the passing of former lawmaker and State Secretary of Education Gary Hart, who died on January 27th of pancreatic cancer. I'm going to read just a little bit from the obituary just to remind us all of the long term of service that he's had and the many, many contributions he's made. Gary Hart represented part of the Central Coast in the California Assembly from 1974 to 1982, when he was elected to the California Senate. He served in the Senate until 1994, representing a district that included parts of Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Los Angeles counties. His legislative work focused largely on education, the environment, and women's rights. His bills helped create California public charter schools, establish the state solar tax credit, and increases in child support payments for divorced women. He sponsored legislation, a great deal of legislation that had a lot of intersection with the Commission. In fact, he authored the legislation that brought us the basic skills examination. He and I have had some interesting conversations about that. In fact, a couple of years ago, he dropped by to bring me a file of just historical documents that I don't think he had the heart, if you will, to throw them away. And so he brought them to me. And I appreciated that. As the executive director of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, I guess I am the repository of historical documents, although please, we don't have a lot of space here to store these things. But it was such a moment to sit and share with him kind of that, and to discuss the evolution of this work and the impact that it's had and where it might be going. I would be a little bit nervous to update him at this point about things that have happened to make it easier to meet the basic skills requirement, but let's just recognize that legacy from him. He also served as the director of the Institute for Education Reform at the California State University, and as I said, the Secretary for Education. I had the opportunity to work with Gary when the Master Plan for Education was revised, and it was just an extraordinary experience that I was so honored to be part of. He was a gentle human being with very strong ideas, but his way of engaging with others was welcoming. He was deeply curious, and he loved the dialectic, perhaps more than anything else. He wanted to hear the point, counterpoint discussion on any and every issue, which made him such an extraordinary thinker and contributor to our work. While I worked for the California State University system, he and I had offices on the same hallway in a retired dorm at Sac State University. And it was wonderful to come to work and say good morning and just pass the time of day. And in one of those conversations, he invited me to participate in the book group that he sponsored at Kennedy High School. And, I don't think he could have invited me to anything and I would ever say no, really, because he was such an extraordinary leader and mentor. But it gave me an opportunity to work with a small group of students at Kennedy High School, reading the book Cold Mountain, and yet another extraordinary opportunity to work in education next to a giant. I will miss him. I miss him tremendously, and yet the example he set, that his curiosity, his appetite for the dialectic, the give and take, those are things that I just really so appreciate about him and are reminders to me about how I would like to engage with the public. So rest in peace, Gary Hart. His work is so profoundly impactful that it will live on beyond our generation. And I just wanted to take a moment and honor that memory with all of you. And finally, at the first meeting of the calendar year, pursuant to the Commission's policy manual, the Executive Director is expected to provide an overview of priority goals and milestones for the year. This month's agenda provides a view of the landscape for 2022 and sets the stage for new and ongoing initiatives that will be the focus for much of our work this year. In addition to ongoing workload, which drives about, well, let me just start by saying that the ongoing workload that drives about 90% of what we do includes reports to the Commission on teacher supply, which is a reflection of all of the work our certification division does to produce teaching credentials and to issue teaching credentials. The Title II report, which is a focus on enrollments in educator preparation programs and completion and examination issues in teacher preparation. The workload report from the Division of Professional Practices, which shows all of the cases that we've opened, closed, and taken action on annually. The report on the work of the Committee on Accreditation, which has the responsibility of accrediting somewhere around 250 distinct sponsors of teacher preparation in the state, and reports on our various grant programs and activities. So those reports will come to you throughout the year and will be significant kind of views into what the vast majority of the work that occurs at the Commission is all about. In terms of continuing ongoing work and milestones we expect to hit, big milestones this year, in our performance assessment area, we will be doing standard setting for the California Administrator Performance Assessment, as well as for the new soon to come online Education Specialist Teaching Performance Assessment. We will be launching the extensive support needs and mild to moderate support needs TPAs next academic year. So this fall, preparation programs will be incorporating those assessments in their special education programs and preparation. In the broader area of other testing, we will continue to work with the field to fully realize the flexibilities introduced by the legislature last year, allowing multiple pathways to meet basic skills and subject matter requirements. This is a significant sea change in the way testing has been undertaken in the state of California, and we're excited to do this work with our colleagues in the field. In terms of grants, last year's budget placed close to $500 million in the Commission's budget for expenditure over the next 5 years in several grant programs, the largest of those being the Teacher Residency Grant Program, Classified Staff Program, Computer Science Program, the Dyslexia Program. All of these grant programs will be, we will be issuing RFAs this year to invite proposals and to get that funding out the door, begin getting out the door. You have a big report on that on tomorrow's agenda. In the assignment monitoring work that we've been doing in our certification division, we launched the online system last year, and it is very exciting to have that new way of collecting data on the assignment of teachers and the ability to report on that in a far more efficient way. So we will continue to work on enhancing that and working with the field in collaboration to make that system really work the way it was intended to. We're also beginning a multi-year project to update our online credentialing system, which is exciting on the inside of this building and maybe for people processing credentials in the field. In terms of some of the new work that will be featured on this agenda and will be driving a great deal of our project work this year, literacy. The passage of Senate Bill 488 set a new stage for what we do with the Reading Instructional Competence Assessment, which essentially, spoiler alert, that item's coming up on your agenda, but that's been retired. The RICA will be retired as of 2025 and replaced with a performance assessment. So this year, in order to hit a 2025 year implementation date, we will begin the work on a design team to begin to conceptualize what that looks like. We also are required by that bill to look at our standards around literacy and to make sure that they are current and address the issues specified in SB 488. So we expect literacy to be a big part of our work for the next several years, and much of that will be launching this year. You'll have a great opportunity to hear from Nancy Brynelson and Roxanne on our staff as they present that to you later today. The early childhood education area continues to be very exciting with the implementation of transitional kindergarten. We're working closely with our colleagues at the Department of Education on all aspects of that. And of course, the primary role for the Commission is to work on the credentialing pieces of that. So we have a work group that's been in place for a couple of months now, who will be bringing recommendations to you. And our goal this year is to finalize a structure for an early childhood specialist credential and to initiate regulations on that. To also bring you standards for the preparation of teachers for the early childhood specialist credential, and to complete work that we began under the PDGR grant to model and pilot program review for preparation leading to the child development permit and to build an early childhood TPA. So you'll be getting a good report on this tomorrow with Dr. Phyllis Jacobson, which covers the whole waterfront, and we're excited to be engaged in and launching that work. We have been working on a strategic plan and working together in small groups and whole group with the Commission and our stakeholders to really dig in on what should be our guiding vision, mission, values, and goals for the next 8 to 10 years. That work, I hope, we will bring to completion this year, and it includes continuing to examine and define the ways in which diversity, equity, and inclusion define and frame and inform our work, and also the ways in which data-informed decision-making can become more normative in the way in which the Commission looks at it and conducts its work. That's a long list of things that we will be doing this year, but I want to end my list of priorities by saying that the next item on your agenda is an overview of the governor's budget, and implementing those priorities will also be a very, whatever is still on the table in June when the budget is signed, will be a significant indicator of priorities for the Commission going forward. So that is the list of goals and priority projects for this year. And that also concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Executive Director Sandy. Welcome, Dr. Weeks. And thank you for honoring Gary Hart. He's been an ongoing presence in my community for a very long time, and he will be missed. And thank you for that update for what we have in store for us this year. All right, do any commissioners have items to report? Commissioner Hartwig.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to all the commissioners, staff, and everyone listening in and participating today. I wanted to echo the appreciation that Mary just shared about Gary Hart, and forgive me if I repeat a few of the notes that Mary shared. Excuse me, about Gary's incredible legacy. I prepared this before hearing this, so you may hear a few things a few times. Gary was a great California statesman who was dedicated to our public school system. And as you heard, he passed away at the end of January at the age of 78 after a long battle from pancreatic cancer. I know there are, excuse me, many participating in this meeting today or listening in who may have known and collaborated with Gary over the years. I will be forever grateful to Gary because he was the person who alerted me to the opportunity to serve on this commission and suggested I might apply to be a commissioner. And clearly, I think my emotions about Gary's passing and I really believe the many years of service and life that he still had in him are catching up with me as I share today. As you heard, Gary represented the Central Coast in the State Assembly and State Senate for 2 decades, from 1974 to 1994. After his retirement from the legislature, he served as the Secretary of Education under Governor Gray Davis. Gary was widely admired in the legislature for his impressive ability to effect change, including through working across the aisle, and his unflinching integrity. Both California legislative houses adjourned on Monday in Gary's honor, with some beautiful tributes offered by legislators across multiple generations. Gary was a tireless champion of public education throughout his career. It is not exaggerating, and Mary talked about this, to say that Gary's contributions positively affected millions of California school children and continue to do so. His contributions are really too many to do justice to, but I wanted to highlight a few areas where his legislation had a major impact. His legislation focused on increased funding for K-12 and higher education, teacher professional development, class size reduction, due process rights for students facing suspension or expulsion, higher academic standards for students and prospective teachers. He authored many pieces of legislation intended to support the California public school system, with perhaps his best known bill in 1992 allowing for the creation of California charter schools. Gary was deeply interested in supporting higher education as well as K-12 schools, and his efforts helped lead to the establishment of CSU Channel Islands. After retirement from the state Senate, Gary co-founded the California State University Institute for Education Reform, which Mary referred to. And it's wonderful to remember that Gary was himself an educator. He earned a master's in teaching from Harvard's Graduate School of Education right after his undergraduate degree, and started his career teaching high school social studies in Santa Barbara. After serving as Secretary of Education, he taught history at Kennedy High School in Sacramento. Gary was particularly proud of the Honors Humanities program he founded at Kennedy, a program called PACE, which has had 2,000 graduates since its start in 2003. Gary also taught government and education courses in multiple higher education settings, and I know would really like to be remembered as an educator as well as a policy advocate and a legislator. In addition to his work on behalf of education, his other 2 legislative passions were the environment and women's rights. And 2 of his signature accomplishments in those areas were establishing the solar tax credit, which was the first such credit in the country, and increasing required child support payments to support single mothers. I wanted to share the sad news of his passing to honor his contributions to public schooling in California. Contributions that are made by, I know, everybody participating in this meeting and listening to this meeting. And I just wanted to close with some words that Gary shared for a tribute article before he passed. As Gary knew that his passing was imminent, he was able to reflect on his life. And he said to someone who was interviewing him that he believed our democracy could only thrive with a strong public education system where students from varied backgrounds could learn to work together, and every student with quality instruction and hard work had opportunities to pursue their dreams and succeed. And I know this sentiment that Gary articulated so well motivate so many of us in service to California's education system. I wanted to share those. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartwig. Commissioner Francois. Commissioner Francois, you are muted.
Thank you, Chair Sloan. Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me? Good morning, commissioners. My apologies, I'm navigating this meeting on an iPad today because my computer has decided that it will not charge. It just said, no, we will not charge today. So please be patient with me today. Always good to see you all. I want to express my condolences to all who knew Gary Hart, all who were instrumental in his career and whose lives he affected so deeply. I had the opportunity to meet him once. But as I listened to Mary, your words, and I listened to you, Commissioner Hartwig, I was reminded of the impact that he made in the state of California, particularly in his work in education. And I'm inspired by that. And I thought to myself, you know, listening to Chair Sloan this morning, we are in a sobering moment. These are sobering times in education. The data is not good, and it's telling us it's telling the story of a profession in crisis. And at the same time, as I listen to Executive Director Sandy's comments, I think to myself, and I have an image of the hope and all the investments that we are making personally and professionally and as a state to lock arms and walk across that bridge towards equity and filling those gaps that are really affecting young people across the state and the educators that serve them. And really the comment that I wanted to make this morning is a personal one. My youngest daughter started her student teaching this morning. I've seen her for the last few days get ready, reading, talking to her classmates, trying on different first day of school outfits, standing in front of the mirror and practicing projecting her voice, even as it quivered, because while she was excited, she was also very, very nervous. And listening this morning to everyone who's spoken so far, I can't help but think, and I can't help but be hopeful, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of young people just like her that, in spite of the difficulty of this moment, they showed up for student teaching today. They chose this profession, and they chose it with hope and enthusiasm, with knowing that they were going to change lives in classrooms, but they were going to change the lives of the state and this country. And I commend them. And they're not in this call, but I commend them. And I also commend the teachers who, in spite of this moment, opened up the doors of their classrooms to embrace these aspiring teachers and to share with them their practice and their care and their knowledge and their skill and their love. They are ushering in our next generation of hope. And they don't have to do that under these conditions. And they've taken that challenge on. And I want to give a shout out to them, even though they're not on this call, because they too are serving the young people in this state. And then lastly, the folks that are on this call, the folks that are in this meeting, are their educational partners. The commissioners, our education partners that represent community-based organizations, nonprofits, labor, educator preparation program. You are their representatives. You are their support. You are their advocates, and we cannot do this work without you. So I want to give a shout out to all of you who can be here, can participate, and use your voice in the interest of the young people in K-12 and ECE 16, I guess I should say. My daughter, who is starting her journey today, and all of those experienced, accomplished teachers who, in spite of the odds, continue to prepare the next generation of educators. and leaders. So there's hope in this space. I appreciate Gary Hart being in this space with us today, and I hope that we hold on to his memory as we make some good decisions on behalf of the state of California.
Thank you, Commissioner Francois. Amazing. Commissioner Cardenas.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, CTC staff and members of the public. On this thoughtful Thursday, as we reflect with the passing of Gary Hart and just all of everything that's going on around us, I just wanted to share just a little bit about school counselors. This week is National School Counseling Week. And part of National School Counseling Week is to really highlight the contributions of school counselors. But this year's theme is really about being better together, right? We can't do this work without our mental health professionals, without our administrators, our teachers, community members that include our students and families. We just can't do this work alone. And we deeply understand that. Many of our school counselors, because of the shortages, have had to fill in classrooms, have had to be in classrooms to substitute teach, to provide lessons. So, we are definitely running and doing this work as much as we can, but this goes for all educators, that fair share responsibility. We are all picked up the load. Even our classified staff, right, have had to come in and pick up the load and be part of this process. And so even though it has been a very scary and sad, but it's been very uplifting to see the contribution that everybody has been making, even from our parents. So I would just like to honor our school counselors, all of our educators, and really who continue to be challenged, but at the same time, continue to do the work with compassion, with care, just on the behalf of all the families and students of California. We know that we are all better together. So thank you all for your words, and thank you for all your service.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardenas. Commissioner Brown, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardenas, for that. That was, and so much is inspiring this morning. Usually I sit here and tell you all the wonderful things that early childhood is doing. And yet listening this morning to Executive Director Sandy's report and and Tina Sloan's report, and I'm glad we're honoring Gary Hart today for what we do try to do. We have curiosity and an appetite for the give and take of what it takes to be in education, and we couldn't do it without partners. So absolutely together we are. I wanted to just do a quick update just to let you know that our field and the community colleges are very enthusiastic partners in this work. There's a teacher prep pipeline that's meeting monthly with the leaders of the ECE programs. The community college has an ECE, Tri-C ECE group that's promoting public comment and support for the ECE credentialing work. And there's also a group from the community colleges that in early childhood and elementary preparation that will be meeting next month with the Chancellor's office. So lots of good things are coming. At the same time, I just want to make a bid here to let you know that early childhood educators are really looking forward to coming into into public education to get support and equity with our other K-12 partners. And one of the things that they're working a lot on is an apprenticeship program that would really help support the preparation of educators, both early childhood and elementary educators, so that they're getting plenty of experience to go with that knowledge. So once again, this curiosity and appetite for the give and take, yeah, we're ready to go. So thanks for keeping us aboard.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Gross.
Commissioner Brown, thank you for that. I have my notes here about what I want to say, and I think your enthusiasm perfectly matches this moment of duality that we are in terms of hope and enthusiasm, and also crushing, overwhelming, what are we going to do? I was drafting emails before joining the commission meeting this morning, and not only are we asking educators and administrators to make the impossible possible, always, every day in education, but certainly after Omicron and staffing shortages. But we also simultaneously then say, and right now we got to start planning for next year, right? Like you're in survival mode and we're going to keep going because the kids are still here. And so I was drafting emails this morning, and I had to pause because what I had written was, we are a bit fragile right now. And I needed my outside presenters to know that, right? That the cognitive load that our students are carrying, that our school staff are carrying, that our families are carrying, it is so high right now. And so I think approaching each other with grace, recognizing that some of us are in that space of enthusiasm and ready to take that next leap, and some of us are not, and we're really struggling. And so with that struggle, there is that hope. And for those of us who are lucky enough to be on school campuses on a regular basis, I had a chance yesterday to play handball with a 6th grader, and our kids want us. They want connection. They want to understand, how do I transition from a virtual world to an in-person world, and what are those boundaries again? And just like Commissioner Francois said, we also have these young, brilliant educators who have stepped up to the plate, and are learning as they go, and are learning that often we are building the plane while we're flying it. And so I carry that weight of the overwhelming feeling, and also the lightness of the hope. I wanted to express my appreciation today for students who are coming to school every day after having COVID, not having COVID, dealing with substitutes, principals who are coming in and quickly subbing for a class. And I think they're holding this really great line of acceptance and also pushing us to be better. Right? They're not waiting for the pandemic to be over for us to be more equitable educators. And that fills me with so much hope and excitement for what is coming next. And that helps me survive this overwhelming moment of the kids will show us the way if we listen. And I think our new educators are in the same boat, like they will show us the way. My other thought that I wanted to share today, I had a very brief moment, 2 years to know Robin Zane, and I wanted to remember her life today as she unexpectedly passed away in January. She was the director of state special schools here in California, and I had a chance to know her as a member of the Ed Specialist Cal TPA design team that first started meeting in February 2020. It's my last in-person adventure in Sacramento. And just from my brief time getting to know Robin, she's kind, she's bright, her smile, right, just lights up a room. But there was no more determined advocate, I think, in that room for the deaf and hard of hearing population. And I remember being so in awe of her ability to say, stop, wait, we're not ready. Where are the interpreters, right? And she, I think, always really kept us honest and true to our work in that design team of making sure that we were supporting the range of learners with disabilities that we educate every day in our state. She was instrumental to the work of the Ed Specialist Cal TPA design team for the deaf and hard of hearing assessment. And she will be greatly missed on our team. And I wish to express my condolences to her family and friends and colleagues who will be remembering her life tomorrow. We can all continue to pass on and live her legacy and the work that we do to ensuring that all of our students have equitable access to meaningful, rigorous education opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gross. Commissioner Simmons.
Well, I want to reiterate the part of that the chair talked about January being hell. And it really was. And I think that what the public doesn't really necessarily understand what schools have been asked to do especially during the Omicron surge. You know, the state allocated antigen tests for every student in the state to get tested when they came back from winter break. And those tests didn't come to Goleta, our school district, until the middle of January. So we were in a situation in our community where for the county tests, it would take you 3 days to get an appointment and another 3 days to get the results. Well, by the time you're 6 days in, that's really not helpful. So we contracted with a local company to do the testing for us. And we did between 500 and 1,000 tests a day for the entire month of January. And which took away, you know, a little bit of instructional time, but the kids learned how to spit into the tube, and it went very well, I have to say. They would, you know, have little contests to see who could fill that tube full of spit faster than anybody else. So we ended up, you know, and our classified staff was amazing that they were willing to step out and become sample collectors. And then with the community not having access, we then also added all family members to our contract so that we could provide testing to basically the entire community. Now, what that ended up happening, what that meant was it's not just that you collect the samples. What that meant was that every night at 9 o'clock, I would get the results of all those samples. So then that meant that me and my team, we had to process all of those people by 7 o'clock the next morning to determine which kids could come to school and which ones couldn't, how that we would arrange for substitutes the next day, and make sure that everyone was informed according to the Cal OSHA guidelines, according to the CDC guidelines, and according to the CDPH guidelines. So all of that had to be done and by 7 o'clock the next morning. And then it was up to the principals and the nurses to go through and figure out how are we going to, because we didn't have enough subs, how do we get one teacher, would end up taking half of a class, the other teacher taking the other half of the class. And going through this process is really not, there was no training in my admin program about how to be a workplace infection control coordinator. And yet we all learned. And we learned how to do contact tracing. We learned how to do community testing. And I think that this is what schools do. Schools step up to the challenge. And I had one day at 8 o'clock in the morning where I seriously considered shutting a class. And other than that, we were really set. And, we have like the perfect community in Goleta and Santa Barbara County. And for us to be as strained as what we were, I can hardly imagine what it must have been like in other parts of the state. So, and by now though, I'm very happy. Last night, it's been 3 days since we had a positive employee. And last night we only had 6 positive students. So hopefully, knock on wood, everyone, we are through the worst of this, but it has really put all of us to the edge. And I want to reiterate what Megan said about showing grace, because that's really what we have to do in this environment, because we're all doing stuff we weren't trained to do, but we're all making it work.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Commissioner Kimberly White-Smith.
Good morning, colleagues. I just wanted to, again, also share my sympathy for the loss of Gary Hart, who really was an advocate for all of our students and really helped to kind of make a way and create a more just environment for our educational students and colleagues. One other thing, in the spirit of justice or academic justice, I just wanted to just acknowledge that this month is Black History Month. And although it is a responsibility of all of us to make sure that we acknowledge that Black history is American history and something that we are a part of and share in the fabric of every single day, we do like to set aside this time just to honor those who have helped to create a path for us in this. And I just want to read a quote from James Baldwin in 1963. He gave a speech to New York public school teachers. And it's interesting, this is 1963, but today in 2022, it rings so true to me. He says that to any citizen of this country who figures himself a responsible, and particularly for those who deal with the minds and hearts of young people, must be prepared to go for broke. And I feel, colleagues, that's what we all are doing here. And that's what our teachers are doing. That's what our school counselors are doing, is we are going for broke. Or to put it another way, you must understand that in the attempt to correct so many generations of bad faith and cruelty, when it is operating not only in the classroom, but in society, you will meet the most fantastic, the most brutal, and the most determined resistance. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we are hearing comments or criticisms about teaching actually correct and accurate and factual historical content in our classrooms, but receiving pushback for that. I think it's really important for us to recall our history and to stay true to the path of academic justice for all of our students. Another thing, as you know, a representative of the independent not-for-profit colleges and universities, I also just want to celebrate the fact that my institution, the University of La Verne, houses the California Counselor of the Year, Dr. Nancy Jarman Dunn, and we're celebrating her, I believe, this Friday at the Remote Task event. So congratulations to Dr. Jarman Dunn for her work as a school counselor. I also just wanted to let everyone know that our Center for Neurodiversity, Learning and Wellness is having a series of workshops to support those educators and those students in our neurodivergent arena. And so on February 26th, there's going to be an assistive technology workshop for all of those who are interested, either personally learning about assistive technology to support themselves as learners or as educators and community members who work with those who might benefit from that. And that is on my Twitter. I just retweeted it for anyone who wants to go there and find out how to register for that. And then our Center for Neurodiversity, Learning and Wellness will have a keynote by Zarita Hammond, the author of the book, Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain, Promoting Authentic Engagement and Rigor Amongst Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Students. And that's happening on April 30th at our neurodiversity conference. So that also too can be found on our social media. So again, just wanting to share that we are also here and partners with you in this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner White-Smith. All right, do liaisons have any items to report? Liaison Rodriguez.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And my deepest condolences to all who knew Gary Hart. What a beautiful tribute to his legacy. I'm so saddened by his passing, but he leaves, as everybody has said, he leaves behind so much wealth in his contributions to education. So unlike for this body, the SB's first meeting of 2022 was a one-day affair and was particularly significant as we said goodbye to 4 longstanding board members: Eileen Strauss, whom I would admire across the dais, as she was the liaison, in my time as a commissioner. Her jewelry, her tremendous liaison reports, her deep knowledge. We said goodbye to her, Patricia Rucker, Sue Burr, and Ting Sun. All 4 of these women have shaped education policy in California for years. As SB members, as well as in their distinguished careers serving students, they leave very big shoes to fill. And for a point of personal privilege here, during spring in 2011, I suffered a near-fatal car accident with major injuries, one of them being severe brain trauma. And after having come out of a month-long coma, I was eager to be with my students again. Excuse me. I was back in the classroom in the fall of the same year. And so 2011, I want to situate all of you who were in education at that place. The mandated PD we had at the beginning of the school year made me feel as though I had walked into the reverse parallel universe of all that I expected for the teaching profession. That I expected for myself as a professional teacher, and my colleagues, my students, and the school system itself. There was an emphasis on teaching to the test, a punitive emphasis, mind you. The deficit model was on full display, and what kept me going was my students and my work as a board member on the national board. I knew what was possible for our students, what is possible, and what is possible for the teaching profession. Our policies seemed to be going in the opposite direction. They were dehumanizing with little regard for teachers as professionals. I went to Washington, D.C. for a teaching and learning conference where I ran into Linda Darling Hammond. When I hugged her, tears, uncontrollable tears just strolled down my face. And I said, I can't take it anymore. I need to leave the profession. This is overwhelming. And she told me, hang in there. There are great changes coming in California. A year later, the LCAP was signed into law by Governor Brown. And since then, what is possible is becoming a reality in California. All the tremendous work that has been done updating the standards here at the CTC, and Professor Mike Kirst and the 4 members who are departing, who started setting the framework for a transformative road in California and California schools. Now, with President Linda Darling Hammond at the helm, we're continuing to pave the road to transformation and humanization with the community schools framework, incentives for NBCTs, the ethnic studies curriculum, and so much more. California is, as Linda told me, making great changes. And all of this fills me with great hope for the profession I love, my students and their families, and for California. And so it was interesting to hear, Megan talk about or Commissioner Gross and Chair Sloan about the mixed emotions, because I am in the classroom full time. I see 120 students a day. I prep for 3 different subjects every day, and I understand how exhausted we all are right now. The pandemic has disheartened us, exhausted us, and saddened us. And as Chair Simmons says, caused us to do all of these new things that we're not prepared for. I get it. I get the frustration. However, in the past 2 weeks, I have had some of the best teaching days of my 23-year career. And it saddens me deeply to hear about so many teachers leaving the profession, because I almost feel like, like they say, don't quit before the miracle happens, because where there's darkness, there's light. And the light is a lot of the work that we're doing at the state level. and just the change that's coming. My students impress me every day with their creativity, compassion, and curiosity. I'm so glad that I didn't leave the profession back in 2012 when I had felt so disrespected by the policies at the time, policies that were harming my students. Had I left, I would have never experienced the tremendous joy I feel today. And it all started with the LCAP here in California. So thank you, Eileen, Ting, Sue, Patricia, and Professor Kirst, of course. So thank you for indulging me in my digression there. I'll continue with my report. The board also approved a framework for implementing community schools to our highest needs schools statewide. The framework, which describes the 4 pillars and other key tenets of whole child education, will serve as the basis for grants to LEAs, which will begin to go out in the spring, as well as the technical assistance structure the CD will be building out, also beginning this spring. Given that literacy is on the agenda today, I'll also mention that the board received a memo from the CD in December outlining the 7 local literacy lead agencies, which will be building out professional learning in 7 literacy priority areas. These local leads are funded through the Federal Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. The professional learning will align with the board adopted state literacy plan, which is referenced in the item today, and be evidence-based and equity-focused. Also in the vein of literacy, the governor's proposed budget includes $500 million for the training and hiring of literacy coaches in our state's highest needs schools. And last but definitely not least, if you're looking for some inspiration, may I suggest binge watching the video feed from January's meeting, item 11. State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman, introduced 2 outstanding high school students to represent California in the 60th Annual United States Senate Youth Program, which is sponsored by the William Randolph Hearst Foundation. Jolene Bakalova of Loma Linda, a junior at Citrus Valley High School in Redlands, and Snea Revanu of San Jose, Santa Clara County. She's a senior at Evergreen Valley. If you listen to them, you will be so impressed. These young ladies are powerful. The work that they've already done as high school students contributing to their community is just outstanding. And like I said, inspirational. And additionally, the alternates, Zachary Patterson of San Diego and Jaden Stewart of Valley Village, also to listen to them is to go, yes, there's a tremendous hope for our future. And I think all of the board members echoed that sentiment. So again, that was a beautiful tributes to Gary Hart, the person and the legacy. And this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Liaison Rodriguez. Student Liaison Bias.
Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone. And I'm hopeful that this might be our last Zoom meeting. It would be nice to see everybody in person and get the full feel. But I just have a quick little report. I wanted to touch on something that I'm working on that's really close to my heart. I am a first generation college student, university student, and so I help represent my first generation community on the Pepperdine campus as a first wave ambassador, where it's a mentorship program. I hold office hours and host events and things of that sort. But something that is also near and dear to me, and as Chair Salone was talking about, is the teacher outreach for future teachers. And so taking my 2 passions of first gen community and teaching and putting those together, I am in the process of putting together some sort of extension of the First Wave Ambassador program on Pepperdine's campus to reach out to first gen future teachers. And so I think combining those 2 things would be something really great, because first gens have so many assets to bring to the teaching profession. And I think it would be a great way to kind of like I said, take the two things that, mean a lot to me and give those back into a community like Pepperdine, and hopefully maybe extend that to other private institutions and even public institutions as well. I'm hoping to do some sort of scholarship or award or something to get them involved, because I think a lot of first gen students maybe don't see themselves in a teaching role or the teaching profession. And so I think I would like to extend that and say, yes, you can do it, and teaching's wonderful, and especially as a first gen. So that's something that I'm working on, is reaching out to the first generation community at Pepperdine, and just kind of wanting to expand on this and creating this type of program to hopefully get more teachers to come in, and if they could be first gen, that would be amazing too, because most of the time it's a pretty diverse community of first gen. So that's just something that I've been working on. And again, I just wanted to say it's so nice to see everybody, and thank you. That's the end of my report this morning.
Thank you. Wow, commissioners and liaisons. I am just so grateful, full of gratitude and appreciation for all of you here for starting our year this way. I know that everyone I see on my screen shares all of your words, words of hope, words that show our care and compassion for what we do. The commission is not a black hole of bureaucracy. We are educators, we are community members, we are people who care about education, and that is absolutely clear. And not only are those of us sitting here on the screen who are able to express our thoughts this morning true to that care and compassion, but our staff, our commission staff. As chair, I've had more opportunity to engage with the people who are working behind the scenes for us. And Commissioner or Executive Director Mary Sandy is always reminding me about the same care and compassion that the entire staff of the commission bring to their work. And it is also something that all of us and all of our future educators and all the educators out there who are interacting with the commission need to remember. As Commissioner Gross said, we are a bit fragile right now, and staff are in the same place. And it is hard to navigate the certification system. It is sometimes difficult to get the answers that everybody needs. But I can say honestly that every person in the commission is working as hard as they can, and they care just as much as every one of us here today. So I am so grateful to be a part of this community. I am so grateful that we are starting the year with both messages of the new reality of this moment and messages of hope. And with that, I will now convene the general session and move, to the Fiscal Policy Planning Committee. All right. Commissioner Klatt, will you please convene the committee?
Yes, good morning. Thank you. I had a little bit of internet instability earlier, so hopefully everything will be okay. If someone can alert me if my feed starts to get shaky, I'll turn off my camera. Perhaps that will help. But good morning, everyone. I now convene the meeting of the Fiscal Policy and Planning Committee. The committee has one item before it today. We will announce when the public comment period is open following the presentation of each agenda item. Members of the public who wish to comment will be asked to notify the meeting moderator in the following ways. Individuals who joined the meeting via the Zoom webcast will need to click on the raise hand icon to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak by calling their Zoom ID. Please remember that the Zoom ID is the name used when logging into the meeting. At that time, the individual will be prompted to unmute their microphone and will be able to share their comment. Individuals who join the meeting via the US toll-free number will need to press *9 on their phone to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak by calling out the last 4 digits of the phone number and will allow them to unmute their telephone. At that time, the individual will be prompted to press *6 and will be able to share their comment. Item 2A is update on the governor's proposed 2022-23 budget. It is an information item. Executive Director Sandy and Bridget Hansen will present this item. Mary, will you please begin?
Thank you, Commissioner Klatt. Pleased to bring this item to you. Commissioners, on January 10th, 2022, Governor Newsom submitted his proposed spending plan for the 22-23 fiscal year to the legislature. And the item that is before you provides a high-level view of what is proposed for the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Clearly, Governor Newsom has placed a high priority on education funding since taking office, preparing, training, and recruiting a diverse, expert workforce of administrative, credentialed, and classified staff to work in the public K-12, actually pre-K through 12 schools, is critical to the success of the entire system. This is especially true given the current staffing shortages that we've been discussing thus far this morning, and that have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. So the 2022 Budget Act included $2.9 billion to accelerate the preparation and support the training and retention of well-prepared teachers and educators. Within this proposed funding plan is a proposed $54.4 million appropriation to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing to build upon multi-year investments and to support efforts to enhance the school's abilities to hire qualified teachers and substitutes. On page 1 of the budget agenda item is a list of the different areas in which this appropriation is expected to be distributed. $36 million is proposed of general funds to continue to waive certain teacher examination fees for the CBEST and the CSET and the RICA assessment, as well as all performance assessments for teachers taking those examinations and assessments next year. 12 million of that is to extend the waiver of credential fees for first-time credential applicants. $10 million is proposed to support a new competitive grant program to provide grants to public and private institutions of higher education to develop and implement integrated teacher preparation programs. These are 4-year programs that allow, or 4.5-year programs that allow a prospective educator to complete their degree program and their credential program simultaneously in an integrated program pathway. These funds will also be available to prepare early childhood educators. So that is an exciting investment that we will have the opportunity to manage. $5.2 million in Prop 98 funding in Prop 98 General Fund and $322,000 in General Fund is proposed to reestablish a program that existed 15 years ago. I think it was 15 years ago or so, and for about 1.5 years. And this is the Personnel Management Assistant Teams. These were located at county offices around the state and regionally supported the kind of examination of hiring and retention practices at the school and district level. A very intensive program of support to help districts that were really struggling with their staffing to get a handle on what are the root causes, what are the things we can do to strengthen our recruitment, our retention of the workforce. Most of that funding will go through the Department of Education, but the commission is proposed to be staffed with 1 FTE to join collaboratively with the department and with the CCEE group to collaborate in the development and implementation of this work. $1.4 million in general fund is proposed to establish career counselors for prospective teachers at the commission. We've had questions about the use of the words career counselors because that's what folks do in the high schools. Commissioner Cardenas knows a lot about this. And essentially what these individuals are intended to do is provide additional focused support here at the commission. First of all, to significantly improve access to information on how to become a credential holder on our website through an interactive portal, if you will, that provides information about credentials you might be seeking, requirements, programs that are available within your region, grant programs that might be available to support you. We have a vision for how our website could be a much more useful resource to prospective educators, but the career counselor staff in our certification division would be available to provide in real time counseling support to prospective educators who need additional help in understanding what their pathway forward might be. There's a $924,000 general fund proposal to support our administration of the multiple grant programs that came into our budget last year. We're grateful for that proposal that will enable us to provide a level of staffing for this work that we think will really help us cultivate the field to receive these grants and really make good on the investment of funds. Finally, there is a proposal to authorize any holder of a credential or permit issued by the commission to serve in a substitute teaching assignment to move from a 20 or 30-day limit to up to 60 cumulative days for any single assignment, which is intended to support and ease the substitute teaching shortage that we've been experiencing this year. So that is a very high-level overview of our budget. With it comes a proposed 21 FTE for the commission across these different efforts and initiatives. And this, as I mentioned, is the proposal of the administration. Gives us real insight into priorities of the administration, and it's now moving into the legislature where there will be budget hearings beginning, and we will be in budget hearings beginning in March. We will go through the spring review with the larger communities of interest and the legislature and get to a May revise proposal that will provide some, we would expect some refinements on the overall proposed budget across the board. So this is just a starting point, and we wanted to make sure you were informed of where we are at the beginning of the budget season. We will plan to bring updates to you. If there's anything to update you on in April, we will. Otherwise, the plan will be to give you a more thorough update of what the final almost final proposals look like after the May revise is released in June. So that is my overview of this. I'm joined by Bridget Hansen, our Acting Director of Administrative Services, who can help if there are any technical questions about our budget. And we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I'm looking to see if Commissioner Klatt is on screen. I think we may have lost her, so I'm going to step in and see whether we have any comments, public comments.
I'm just allowing a moment.
Okay.
There are no public comments for this item.
All right, thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Heredia?
Yes, thank you. So I have two questions. I'll ask them separately here and for a response. So the 21 FTE for the commission, is that, can you give a little bit more background on that? I guess my question is going to be 21 FTE. What does that mean for the commission in terms of how that money is allocated for the FTE? And the second part of that particular question is the money that we received like a one-time money so that those positions are not part of the general fund for the commission, and therefore we will at some point have to consider how do we maintain those positions?
At the moment, they are planned for ongoing support. The positions are proposed for ongoing support, but I believe that question is a question we will be examining with the legislature as we go through the budget hearings and doing projections around the teacher credential fund and its ability to support these positions ongoing. A quick overview of the positions that appear in the proposed budget language include one staff person to support the personnel management assistant team effort, one to support coordination of our credential and examination waivers, 5 positions to support the outreach, contracting, technical assistance, and administration of our grant programs, 9 positions to support what we're calling the roadmap to educational careers initiatives, and those are 8 career guidance counselors, credential experts, subject matter experts, and resource specialists for individuals seeking to make the transition to PK-12 education career. One of those 9 positions is to assist in the development and maintenance of the multifaceted web portal on the Commission's website. 4 positions are to support data gathering, research, and analysis, to support our assignment monitoring system, our Cradle to Career, the statewide Cradle to Career data system, California's pre-K through 12 education workforce and teacher grant programs, et cetera. 1 position is proposed to support the funding for a public outreach funding, and this would be to provide public information around the teaching career focused on recruitment, retention, and messaging about that. So like a public information officer type of position. And I believe, let's see, I believe that is all of the positions that are proposed at this point.
Okay. I asked because it's, schools throughout California received a lot of one-time money, which we expect school districts now to experience this cliff in 2 to 3 years. So that's for that reason I was asking. I think that the work of the commission, as you proposed this morning, the goals and projects, I want people to understand that the staff is needed in order to do the type of work that needs to be done. We need to maintain that. So just tell the governor that, all right? My second question has to do with, a couple things here in terms of just, since you're talking about budget. A lot of teachers are leaving because, for many reasons, teachers are leaving, but our classified staff is leaving because they can make much more money in retail or other, there's shortages, people post notices in windows and offer, what are better salaries. So I think that's one of the things that we have to consider in terms of as we go forward. That's our competition right now. Not necessarily that we want that to be our competition, but that is. It's also sometimes less stressful than what's happening in schools. So one of the things I would like us to think about down the road is if there, I'm not sure that there was enough money to really market what we need to do. It's almost if we need to come back and think about how do we now really market the field of teaching, the profession of teaching, because so many teachers are leaving. People are saying, well, if they're leaving into large numbers, then why would I want to go into a profession where everybody's leaving? What is it about teaching that where I would be successful, where I would be inspired? So I'm hoping that we ask the governor, tell the governor, we need to really think about the allocation of money. I mean, this is a profession that's not going to go, hey, this is a profession that we need. This is a foundational profession. So it's just really critical that we think about, rather than, just a little bit of money, we need a lot of money just to, say, hey, in California, this is a great profession to have. It's a great profession to have across the US, but but in California, how can our budget support, a recruiting and helping to maintain teachers in our public schools? Thank you.
And thank you to whomever filled in for me while I experienced that internet glitch I was worried about. I'm back. Hopefully it'll stick. I think I fixed it, but I saw a hand from Commissioner Brown and then Commissioner Francois.
Thank you. You won't be surprised that I'm going to ask Mary a quick question. This is really terrific. By the way, this is really terrific to see how much the governor's proposed budget is really focusing on education. We're really appreciative of his ongoing support. And I was particularly encouraged from Commissioner Heredia's question about the 21 FTE funding that it's planned for ongoing. I certainly hope that really comes to play, because there's no way you can do things without people, materials, and resources. And this is a people profession. But my specific question is, you won't be surprised about, is about early childhood. As early childhood education becomes a more fundamental part of public education, that $10 million one-time general fund to develop and implement integrated teacher preparation programs, how and when does that get fleshed out, and what part can the community college system play, since we are the primary teacher preparation institution for early childhood right now?
I would expect that it's already proposed in the budget bills, and we'll go through the legislative process now of discussion, and ultimately, if it is signed and part of the budget that is signed in June, it will be available as of July 1. And whatever is specified in statute will appear in our request for applications and an invitation to the field to prepare for these things. We have done a grant program for integrated programs before, and I wouldn't be surprised if the basic parameters of scope for release of funds and what it can cover will mirror some of that prior legislation, but it has not been fully developed as of yet. I would expect that but at the end of the budget process, what will be in statute is kind of the statutory frame, use these funds for these purposes, and then the rest will be the narrative that we develop around that to engage with the field.
I'm really glad.
Thank you. It will allow preparation in the TK space as well for TK and early childhood.
Yeah. Well, and the reason that I say that now, and then I'll just leave it at that, is that I have been getting lots of concerns from the early childhood world that grants and other incentives, say for teacher residency or TK, are focused on programs that are already established and institutions that are already well connected, like LEAs and an elementary school. So that I just wanted to make that plea that as we're coming in, as ECE is coming into and community colleges are coming into, that while it's great to mirror what's already been done well, we'll just, we need to get on to the table. So thanks, Mary.
Absolutely. And just tomorrow you will have the report on the early childhood work to date, and a reminder that this year we expect to bring to you a proposal for a new early childhood specialist credential and standards for preparation leading to that. And the minute those are available, the opportunities will expand for grants to support through residency, through classified individuals seeking that particular credential. So there's a lot happening simultaneously, and that's good. It just makes it a little complex, but our eyes on that ball, Commissioner Brown, I can promise you that.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Francois?
Thank you. Executive Director Sandy, can you tell us just a point of clarification of those FTEs? How many of them are going towards roles that, before the influx of all the funds and state investment, staffing that was not there that needed to be there? So I'm trying to get a sense of, I think it's connected to Commissioner Herreria's comment about the infrastructure that exists once all the additional funding is gone. And I know that prior to this year, the commission was short-staffed. So how many FTEs are filling the positions that we needed to fill before, and how many of them are new to support the new initiatives of the state?
Well, some of them, Commissioner Francois, are proposed staff support for the grant programs that became very large last year. But I would say that all of the FTE attached to proposals that we enumerated in the governor's proposed budget here in this agenda item, and for the most part, that reflects new work for the commission. So it's not backfilling positions that for areas. It will be an expansion of scope as defined by these programs, and important scope. This is work that it could be argued we should have been doing and should have been staffed to do for some time. The resources just haven't been there. And as the resource picture grows, the role of the commission in supporting the development, recruitment, and data collection around recruitment, employment, mobility, retention of the workforce, all of that has been our we wish we were staffed to do this and had the funding to do it. And we now have an opportunity to open that part of the work that I think for years we've been talking about at this table that we'd like to be doing. It's fairly critical in the data area, especially to understand what's happening with the recruitment, employment, mobility, and retention of our workforce. It will help us focus the use of the funding, the grant programs that we now have the opportunity to seed throughout the state. And help local school districts understand what are the drivers. The personnel management assistance teams will be an extremely useful resource in the field to work with employers on understanding what are the root causes that are driving attrition, or challenges with employment, challenges around mobility, et cetera. And with that kind of data developed in part by the commission, provided in part by the Cradle to Career data system, and dug into deeply in the field with the assistance of the personnel management teams, we have the opportunity to get our arms around a better understanding of what's driving shortages and how can we strategically and impactfully address those. So this is work that has been needed, but the resources have not been available to devote to it. And the resources are now proposed to really move forward in a systemic way. These are not one-offs. All of these initiatives connect around the idea of how do we recruit and sustain a workforce and prepare them effectively to address shortages and to meet the needs of young people. So these reflect new initiatives, but on the 10-year goal horizon of the commission for some time, these issues have been there, but now we have the opportunity to engage with these opportunities. So thanks.
Thank you.
And I see a hand from Chair Sloan and then Commissioner Cardenas. And I apologize, Commissioner Cardenas, was yours up for a while and I missed it? Because your logo, your National School Counseling Week logo, I may have missed it. So
yes, I think he's first.
Okay, thank you. I may have missed that. So thank you for clarifying. So Commissioner Cardenas and then Chair Sloan.
Thank you, Chair Sloan. Executive Director Standy, thank you for this information item. I know that this, just want to thank the governor's office for this huge investment, right? Something that definitely has been needed for quite some time. And I'm sure all of us have been fielding questions since this was released. And this is probably just still in the works and still there's a lot of moving parts. And I think the moving part for me was that 1.4 million for career counselors. It's like, what is this? Is this for school counseling? Got that. So it's great to hear that there's going to be 9 positions, one really that's dedicated to a website, but to help incoming educators to navigate the system, if I'm understanding that correctly. Because I know it can be a pretty convoluted system for somebody coming out of graduate school and trying to get their credential or in a residency program. So I think this is definitely something that's highly needed, to have a position to help others navigate the credentialing system or the credentialing world. And I think it'll also help with the expansion of outreach and recruitment, right? And I hope that's really one of the things too, where information can be passed along. But then as new information comes available, then it can also be communicated, right? Giving that communication to prospective educators. So I'm really thankful for that. Thank you for the clarification. There's definitely a lot of questions in the counseling world. So thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely. If you'll allow me, I asked Erin Skubal, our Director of Certification, to remind me how many email and live chat inquiries do we get each day? We get 450 on average email per day and 125 live chat inquiries per day from educators in the field with a variety of questions. It's a significant part of our certification workload. And if we can significantly improve access to information through this portal on our website and have a dedicated team to respond. We hope, first of all, that the volume will go down as we provide greater clarity to the field, but that we will have the team assigned here that can field those while we're processing credential applications within that division. So it's a big volume. Thank you very much for your questions.
And thank you for that number. I mean, I think that that must be a lot and overwhelming, but to know that that many people are still on a daily basis interested is that's a hopeful number, I think. Chair Sloan.
Thank you for Mary, such a clear explanation of this very this windfall really to education that we haven't seen for a long time. We've been building, and we thank the governor's office for this. One thing that makes sense that the commission is doing is running grants in order to expand new programs in teacher preparation. What we don't have yet in the teacher preparation field for increasing our educator preparation is funds for building the infrastructure of current programs in order to expand, in order to be able to prepare more educators, counselors, administrators. And that is critical to go along with this wonderful budget that's offering many opportunities, but particularly institutions, public institutions of higher education who are preparing educators do need funding for infrastructure to expand. And I am just putting that out. It's not part of the commission's budget, but in order for all of these things that the commission has been granted at this moment in time to be fully successful, in conjunction with shortening the educator shortage, we do need additional funds for our higher education infrastructure.
Thank you, Chair Sloan. And I'm looking, I don't see any additional hands. Are there any commissioners? Was that Commissioner Heredia? Is that okay?
Sandy, I have Executive Director Sandy. I have a question about this is a windfall, and we are all grateful to the governor. Very appreciative of the fact that people recognize the work that needs to be done in education and the costs associated with doing work in this profession. So I'm asking this question because I'm coming from kind of a school board perspective when we got a windfall of money in school districts. But as I'm looking at this, at the report on page 2A, and I see these numbers, I have a question about what I don't know here is that when the pot of money comes, is there such flexibility that allows the commission to do the kinds of work with that money that they feel they need to do? For example, is the money, and I understand, we can just take one here, $24 million for one-time general fund to waive certain teacher exams. Is there flexibility for the commission to come, say, yeah, we've got this $24 million, but here's how we want to use the money that will best serve our needs? Or is it so dictated in that category? Like right now, school districts are fighting. Looks like we're going back to categorical funding in our school districts, where we had for a long time this ability to use the funds in a way that would best address the needs of our students. So I'm coming from that perspective. It may not apply to the commission, but I just thought I would ask.
I think that we think of these funds for the examination and credential fee waivers as categorical. The funding will be available in our budget to support the waiver of examination fees and credential fees, and not, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Bridget Hanson, but I believe that those funds must be expended in those particular categories. But other funds obviously have been provided to support other ongoing work. So this is a very, I think, a very positive proposal for supporting the commission doing work that the field has wanted us to do for some time, and also to provide relief to candidates for those who find the examination fees and costs prohibitive. this provides relief. And that's not insignificant. That's recognizing that we need to remove as many barriers as we can while we retain high quality pathways into teaching and recruit the population that we need. So we're excited by this proposal and hopeful that our communications in the legislature support ultimately the movement of this funding into our budget beginning next year and over the coming 5 years.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martinez.
Hey there. I know I'm between us and a few other things. I just wanted to actually express as well my gratitude for the governor's budget and excitement to see some of the funding in here that really is related to public outreach, the career counselor, really going back to Chair Sloan's opening comments around the need to recruit and support a diverse pipeline. So I appreciate the detail that you gave us on the budget and appreciate the waiving of fees for teachers as well and the additional funds in there. So thank you for that time.
Do any other commissioners have any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any hands. Holler at me if I've missed someone, but this is an information item and no action is needed. So thank you, Dr. Sandy and Ms. Hanson, for your presentation and all the information you provided for clarification. This concludes the business before the Fiscal Policy and Planning Committee. The committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Commissioner Klatt. Before we begin the Educator Preparation Committee, I'm going to suggest that we have a quick 10-minute stretch break. Please return promptly at 10:33, Commissioners. We have a very full agenda today. Thank you.